When you first pick up a book, are you skimming for something interesting? Like, how do you go about reading it? Or do you just flip to a random page and start reading? Or what's your process for that?
Yeah, I'll start at the beginning, but I'll move fast. So if it's not interesting, I'll just start flipping ahead, or I'll start skimming or speed reading. If it doesn't grab my attention within the first chapter in a meaningfully positive way, I'll either drop the book or I'll skip ahead a few chapters. I don't believe in delayed gratification when there's an infinite number of books out there to read. There's so many great books,
Yeah.
and there's so many of them that are so well written that I just can't spend my time on these. One thing I will do though is if I find that early on in the book the author starts making statements that I think are just factually untrue, and one should always be open to new ideas, but if they're starting to make contradictions where the epistemological load of acknowledging that contradiction, sorry to use that 50-cent word, but just I would have to revisit my entire lifetime of learning and undo it and start
Yes.
over
Yes. Gravity
to
does
accept
not
that truth.
exist. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, I had a conversation recently with a guy who sounded really, really smart and was throwing all kinds of science at me, and my head was spinning. And then he basically said, and as we know, thermodynamics isn't really true. And that was the point at which I was like, okay, I got to discard everything you just said because thermodynamics is fundamental,
That's
right?
what the undo
We
button
can't
is
revisit
for, right?
thermodynamics. Yeah, that thermodynamics is not even a theory; it's a law.
Yeah.
It comes from the mathematics. So if you want to throw that out, then we have no basis for conversation. So if I find something like that in a book where someone says, "Oh yes, I cleared my mind and I watched my thought process, and then I was able to levitate," then I have to put the book down because now I don't know what in here is true and what in here is false. Basically, what I'm looking for is the author knowingly lying or completely deluded? And if
Right.
they are, then I can't fill my brain with that junk because I can't separate truth uh, from fiction. So generally, I'll skim, I'll fast forward, I'll try and find a part that catches me. Usually, though, what happens in most books, though, is most books have one point to make. And obviously, it's nonfiction. I'm not talking about fiction, but they have one point to make. They make it, and then they give you example after example after
Yeah.
example after example, and they apply it to explain everything in the world. And once I feel like I've gotten the gist of it, I feel very comfortable putting the book down. So there's a lot of these, what I would call like pseudoscience bestsellers. That are all over, that everyone's always reading. And people are like, oh, did you read this book? And I always say yes, but the reality is I read maybe two chapters of it, but I got the
Yeah.
gist.